It's time for piercing myths. All that misinformation that you've heard over the years. This time we're going to talk about ear piercing myths. We're going to debunk them, a piercer's perspective. Coming up next on Piercing Myths, episode number 2. First off, my name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer, have been since 1994. I own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing studio located here in Des Moines, Iowa, inside the lovely Skin Kitchen. I'm going to go through 13 common myths that I've heard about lobe piercings over the years. Starting with number 1. Lobe piercings are extremely painful. The reality is lobe piercings are generally one of the easiest piercings to get done, one of the easiest to heal, and they're one of the least painful. Usually it's nothing more than a pinch and a little bit of throbbing and aching immediately afterwards. Number 2. Ear piercings always get infected and are hard to heal. No, they are one of the fastest healing piercings. If they are taken care of properly, they will not become infected, and they're easy to heal. I think a lot of this comes from getting done with an ear piercing device and then being handed stuff that doesn't help with the healing process, actually prolongs it, or having allergic reactions to the jewelry. It is not normal for your ear piercing to be inflamed and out of control and swollen and gross a week or 2 into the piercing. That's not normal. The reality is you'll need to clean twice a day using a sterile saline spray, and also practice cross-contamination prevention, hygiene basically, and keep things away from it and don't handle it. Simple. The next one is one of my favorites. Earlobe piercings last forever. They never close. Wrong. Without the jewelry in there forcing the piercing to stay open, your body will always collapse the piercing. It'll appear open or look like it's open, but it isn't. The other issue is because most people, a majority of the public, wear very thin jewelry in it, it can close pretty rapidly. And when they go to put the jewelry back through, it's really easy just to kind of push that right through that tissue that's blocking the piercing and put the jewelry back in. So it's still healed, right? No, you've just started the healing process all over again. And the thing is, even something stretched as large as 6 or 4 gauge, very thick, can slowly collapse and close if given enough time. Basically, any piercing, regardless of what it is, you need to leave jewelry in it to keep it open. Simple. And the last thing is, the healthier you are, the faster that piercing is going to close. Next one is piercing devices, getting pierced at the mall or your local beauticians or, what have you, a kiosk inside of a large department store, a tent in a corner with one of those devices is as safe as getting it professionally pierced. No, it isn't. The reality is there's no way to sterilize those devices. You can clean them off, you can disinfect them, but you can't sterilize them. Which means, just to explain the difference between disinfecting and sterile, disinfecting means that you're eliminating the bacteria and other microorganisms that are there at the time, including viruses. Viruses and most microorganisms can have the ability to kind of create this hard shell around them that is called a spore. And they'll be in a spore state, or they're new to the whole environment. Disinfecting doesn't get rid of the spores. So that they cleaned it off really, really good. They set it down or put it in whatever. An hour goes by, you're the next client, the spores have opened, that entire thing is filled with microorganisms. Sterile is a situation where you can kill off not only the microorganisms, a majority of them, they always say 99.99 blah, blah, blah percent, but also you kill the spores. So you're eliminating the possibility of microorganisms at that point and also in the future, or at least for a while. The second thing is usually most people operating these devices don't have much training. They maybe have watched a 10-minute video on how to do it. They haven't dealt with this on a regular basis. When they applied for the job, it was for something else. This is just another thing they do to make extra money. It is not their skill set. Because the action and the quickness in which those devices work, it can cause blood spray or splatter onto the device itself, the person doing it. They're everywhere. So it increases the likelihood of contamination over using a piercing needle, which is not going to cause that effect. Though the stud that actually goes in your ear may be sterile, if that could get contaminated if it's handled wrong, stored improperly, or the device itself is in fact contaminated. If that package is broken in any way, shape, or form, there's a chance. If the person touches the counter or the microphone and then grabs the stud and puts it in there, that's a possibility. The other thing that I don't think a lot of people understand is that microorganisms will move on the surface of things. So if they have not set up a clean environment to set up their equipment, there's a possibility of being contaminated there. Hypoallergenic jewelry is safe and will not cause allergic reactions. This is the next myth. Totally false. The term hypoallergenic was invented by the cosmetic companies as a way of saying, well, it may cause an allergic reaction or it may not, but it's less likely to or less. So if somebody's selling you a piece of jewelry and it says hypoallergenic, it just means there might be nickel in there, just not a lot of it. There might be other trace elements that you might be allergic to, but there's not a lot of it, or it's plated. The reality is unless you have, and what you should insist on is third-party certification, if it's available, that material is actually made of something that's biocompatible or implant grade. That means there's less impurities in it, and it's solid. The other thing about it is the whole term is self-regulated. So I could manufacture this and say it's hyperallergenic and not have to prove it. I wouldn't be sending this off to someone else to verify that it is actually not going to cause allergic reaction because I take care of my own self-regulation. As I mentioned, may not be nickel-free, maybe only the coating is safe, which means that it's plated, and the plating comes off, and then you may have a reaction to it. And one of the things that may have led to this theory that it's normal for an ear piercing to become infected is allergic reactions often react the same exact way an infection would, because it is your immune system trying to get rid of this thing it doesn't like. For some reason or another, it is decided that material is dangerous and should be treated just like any other foreign pathogen. So commonly people think it's infected when reality is they're having an allergic reaction. And then we move on to the next myth. Piercing younger children is a better option. Often people will say this is because they won't remember what it felt like. Reality is we build our fears and anxieties from birth. If we've had an experience with something and it really hurt and we had no way of coping with it or understanding what is going on, chances are we're going to build up a fear of that particular thing. I think it's why a lot of kids are scared of shots. Regardless of the age, it hurts. The next reason why it's not a good option is because children, toddlers, infants, etc., have no concept of hygiene. They don't understand they're not supposed to handle something. They don't understand how to keep the area clean. They don't understand how to keep items away from it that may contaminate the piercing. They are totally oblivious to this because they haven't been taught these things. You don't come out of the womb knowing these things. Next thing is children tend to explore everything with their mouth and their hands. This is in part, especially with infants, because their vision hasn't completely developed, that they tend to rely more on taste, smell, and sensation than they do. This is a problem even with adults. I'll admit it. Everybody wants to touch and play with their jewelry. The reality is it's more so when they're younger because they don't understand why they can't do that, and they have no idea, and, they're kids. Next thing is they have a limited exposure to metals, so you have no idea if they're allergic to anything, and if it's nickel that they're going to eventually build, overexposure to nickel is, in theory, one of the reasons why people develop an allergic reaction to it. So you're starting this at an early age, which means that could impact them in the future. Also, and that's going to be a problem because nickel's in pretty much everything that's plated. Zippers, rivets on jeans, belt buckles, anything that's shiny, it probably has nickel in it, and you're going to make that person more likely to possibly have problems with those things in the future. And lastly, with young children and infants and toddlers, as they grow, their ear will develop, and often the piercing will move downward or back. It's not going to be in the same position it is now, and will probably need to be redone to look correct. The next myth is doing both of them at the same time is less painful. I don't understand this. Yes, you go through it one time, but it's twice the pain. It's still going to hurt the same amount. Doing both of them at the same time is not going to make it less painful. It also creates a situation where the timing might be off slightly, where one person, they do a countdown like 10 or 3, 2, 1, and one person does it, and the other person does it. So they aren't probably going to be at the exact same time. They're going to be offset a little bit. Then it comes down to the skill of the person that's actually doing it. People that are more skilled tend to do things a little faster, a little cleaner. People that are less skilled are going to do it slower. So one's going to always hurt more than the other one, and it's not. If you would have had the person that's more skilled do both of them, it probably would have hurt less. Next myth, number 8. We're getting there. Got 6 more to go. Is that right? Yeah. Anyway, you should twist and spin the jewelry all the time. This is a big no. You should not spin or rotate the jewelry. Doing that increases your likelihood of infection. It increases your likelihood of bumps or other agitation problems, increases the likelihood of swelling, and prolongs the healing period. What you're doing when you're spinning it, especially if you're forcing it, is you're breaking loose new skin growth probably in the process. If the jewelry's really low quality, that tissue may be sticking to it, and then you turn it and twist it, and it breaks that tissue loose, and your body goes, I got to start over again and over again and over again. There is no reason to spin the jewelry. The reason why they told you this was because the jewelry was of such poor quality that there was a possibility of that jewelry sticking to it. You don't need to do that with high-end, especially if you're going to a body piercing studio and you're getting very high-quality jewelry. That finish is so mirror smooth, you're never going to have that problem. This one I heard on a how-to video or a seminar that one of these manufacturers did on ear piercing devices. The jewelry should be really, really tight because it bleeds less that way. No, that's not the case. If it's too tight, it's actually going to cause problems, especially if it swells beyond that. And the worst case scenario is that it impacts, where the tissue starts to grow over the jewelry and engulf it. The jewelry should always be loose fitting to allow for swelling and proper cleaning. Having the jewelry too tight could affect how much it can discharge, and discharge is basically your body getting rid of waste and making sure that the wound is sealed properly to avoid, it's kind of like a blockade, so to speak. But it uses all the waste that's been produced during the actual piercing, and also while it's producing tissue, to barricade the area. So that's what that discharge is, with some plasma, of course. If it can't produce that and it's just kind of stuck there, it just kind of festers inside the piercing. It's just not good for it. The next one is guns hurt less than piercing needles? False. The biggest difference between a ear piercing device and a needle is the speed and how the skin is punctured or cut. With an ear piercing device, a semi-sharp, about equivalent to a thumbtack, is shot through your skin at a very high rate of speed, causing a great deal of trauma and pain. It also, in some cases, if it isn't sharp enough, that back and pressing against it kind of like a letter punch will actually do the piercing part. With a needle, you have a surgical sharp, scalpel sharp, single-use needle that passes through the tissue very, very quickly and very smoothly, causing the least amount of trauma possible. The other thing with the devices is they can lock that back in there super tight, which is going to increase the throbbing and aching afterwards because that butterfly back just kind of slides on there and doesn't really have anything keeping it wide enough. Does that make sense? So when you're putting all this pressure this way, it'll force that thing on there to the point where it's so tight that it is causing pain or pinching. It's like somebody pinching your ears super hard right after they pushed a clothespin or a thumbtack through it. The thing I'm piercing with a needle, the reason why it takes longer is insertion of the jewelry. If it's done correctly, with the correct tools, and with the correct methods, usually at most it'll be a little uncomfortable. Number 11, getting pierced by a nurse is safer than going to a professional piercer. No, a piercer is trained in the art of piercing. They know where things should go, they know how they should be done, and they know what works. Their whole life revolves around piercing. They also have learned cross-contamination prevention and practice it on a daily basis. A nurse also practices cross-contamination prevention on a daily basis and is well trained in that. And this goes for any medical professional. However, they have no training on piercing techniques, methods, how it should be done, and etc. And in most cases, when I've come across this, they're usually doing it with an ear piercing device, which we've already covered is not necessarily safe. It's much safer. You're going to have better results if you let a actual piercer who's trained to do what they do it. For the same reason, I'm not going to go out and do stitches on somebody is the same reason why a nurse does not have the skill level needed to do a piercing. Number 12, the 12th myth. We're almost done. I promise. We're almost done. This one is that there is a correct ear to do. No, there isn't. Most people end up getting both done. This is a trend that started in the 80s. It was more of kind of a, I don't know, it was fashion more than anything else. People came up with all kinds of excuses about sexuality, of which side is the correct side or the not correct side. That has all gone out the window for the same reason you don't see a bunch of people running around with those safari painter hats. You remember those? Or the Oakley, were they Oakley or were they... well, the Oakley things came back in style. But no, the skiing goggle things. It went out of fashion. It's not the fashion anymore. Most people get both ears done. Personally, I started getting pierced in the 80s, and that's what I liked. I liked the idea that it was only on one side. And then when I got to the point where I was getting a lot of piercing and doing a lot of piercings, I was talking on the phone nonstop because I was a talent buyer for a local live venue. So I was always on the phone. And I've kind of gotten into this is the phone side. This is also the side I sleep on. So not having anything on there, I like it. And it's probably going to stay that way. Number 13, professionals charge way too much money. Well, you can say the same thing about a plumber. Yeah, sure, you can fix that clogged sink, but you might make it worse because you don't know what you're doing. The reason why you call a plumber and have a plumber do it is because they've been trained and have invested in that training and have the skill to do what they do. Piercers are very specialized, skilled people. This is not something that everybody can take up. There isn't a special 10-minute video you can watch to start doing it, which is commonly what's done in the ear piercing device industry. These are people that have invested a lot of time, and they are very skilled at what they do. The next reason is that piercers tend to only use, now this is not everybody, a majority of us, some reputable ones, use jewelry that's of a biocompatible material that we've verified. We're very particular about the jewelry that we'll pierce with, the correct size, and etc. And this is something you're not going to find at a department store. The next reason why piercers are not too expensive. We give out aftercare instructions. We walk you through the process. We give consultations to let you know what it's going to take to heal that ear piercing. We also will go through the process of supporting you after the piercing is done. If there's an issue, you can come back to us and we're going to give you a way or try to work out a way to solve the problem. It's not a case where it's like, well, Jill did that. She's not going to be here I think she quit. Go see your doctor. I can't help you. Here's some suggestions that come from my experience of having ear piercings and also doing them on a lot of people. Find a piercer that's reputable and well experienced. It's going to make the experience so much better. Do your research ahead of time. When doing both the piercings, because your lobes are different shaped and your ears are of a different shape, we want to go more with it looks like it matches than it actually matches. If we take out a caliper and start measuring distances and etc., oftentimes they will not match. So it's more about the visual. And always look at them up close and then at arm's length, because this is what normal people don't see you this close. Most people see you from this distance. Most of your social interactions are going to be from arm's length or further. Make sure that when you change the jewelry out to a new piece, that it's at the same quality level as the jewelry that you were pierced with. I don't know how many people over the years have had problems when they switch out to cheaper jewelry or jewelry that's just poorly manufactured or is not really biocompatible. So investing in quality jewelry is always a good idea to make sure that you can have that piercing or those piercings for the rest of your life. Lastly, when doing the consultation with your piercer, ask a lot of questions. Do that during the marking and even the procedure. The more educated you are and when they give you your aftercare instructions, the more questions you ask, the more clear things are, the better your results. And that's really what we all want. We're a team, but we only have a short period of time with you. We try to give you as much information as we can, but sometimes we forget certain things. So it's always best to ask a lot of questions, especially if you're unsure about something. So what are your experiences with having your ears pierced? What are some of the myths that you've heard? Have I covered all of them? Seemed like it was a lot of them. I don't know. Leave a comment. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I'd love to see you for your piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you in that next video.